The PlayStation Store is running an awesome Attack of the Blockbusters sale, and there are so many incredible deals. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 awesome deals under $10. Now, of course, there are a ton of deals above $10, so we'll be making a separate video going over some of the more expensive options. But for those of you on a tight budget, these are some great deals as well, so let's get right into this. First up, we have Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition for $9.99. Now, we're coming up on the release of Divinity Original Sin 2, so I thought it would be a good idea to mention the first game. By most accounts, the first game is not quite as good as the second game, but that doesn't really say much considering the second game is widely considered to be one of the best PC RPGs of all time, and again, it will be coming to PS4 later this month. The first game is still very good. It has a lot of complexity and nuances to its gameplay. It doesn't really hold your hand all that much, so you are going to have some patience with it, but once you get invested into the game, you're going to be invested for quite a while, and $9.99 is a great price given how much content you're getting. Next up, we have Metro Redo for $7.49. This includes Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. This is a game that I recently recommended you guys to pick up when it does go on sale, and here we have it. It is on sale for just $7.49, and it's a great deal. These are two excellent single-player first-person shooters that have great atmospheres, great storytelling, and solid gameplay. Visually, they look very good as well, and these remasters were done very well, considering we are coming up on the release of Metro Exodus as well. That's a little bit later in February of next year. However, this is a very story-driven franchise that before you play Metro Exodus, I would highly recommend you to play 2033 and Last Light, and they are very good games in their own right, and getting both of them for $7.49, that's $3 and change a pop, that is a damn good deal. Next up, we have Ratchet Clank for $6.99. How about this? Another game with ties to an upcoming release. While Insomniac is doing Marvel Spider-Man, of course, Ratchet Clank is the game that many would say exploded their popularity. And why is that? It's because it's an awesome platformer. It's got great action combat as well, and it's a very charming game. This title is a complete remake of the first game, and it's done very well. It's not your typical remaster. It is a ground-up remake for the PlayStation 4, and you can tell that immediately when looking at the visuals. But even with this remake, what's retained is the charm, what's retained is the humor. All that you know and love from Ratchet is here, and if you've never played a Ratchet & Clank game, this is a great one to start with, and at $6.99, it's a steal.
Ratchet stylishly leapt onto the rail next to him.
Next up, we've got Battlefield 1 for $7.99. I typically always mention Titanfall 2 whenever Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 go on sale. So how about this time I change it up a little bit? Battlefield 1 deserves a mention, especially at its low price of $7.99. Now, there is a premium edition available for a little bit more. And if you don't have Titanfall 2, you can pick up the Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 bundle. That includes the premium edition of both games. And that, I believe, is $20. So there are some alternative options. However, just to get Battlefield 1 for $7.99, that's a really good deal as well. It's a great first-person shooter, and I really enjoyed the single-player campaign as well. The multiplayer is your Battlefield fare, and it's really well done. And usually the Battlefield games community, even after a follow-up title is released, the community still sustains, so don't worry if you don't plan on picking up Battlefield 5 and you want the community and BF1 to sustain, it probably will. And considering that it's only $7.99, not too much of an investment here. Next up, we have Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection for just $7.99. At this point, I would say that Uncharted and God of War are probably the two most iconic PlayStation franchises. Most of you have probably already played God of War, but maybe some of you that have picked up your PlayStation 4 later in its life haven't checked out the Uncharted games. Well, you need to remedy that ASAP and check out Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection. This includes all three of the Uncharted games that were released on the PlayStation 3, remastered, running at 60 frames per second. They look great, they play great, and they're still great games. Even if the first Uncharted game hasn't aged all too well, Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 are still marvelous games, and all things considered, Uncharted 1 is still a pretty good game. Considering you're getting all three titles for just $7.99, you're getting each game for $2 and change. That is an absolute steal. sale. Now, of course, after you complete Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection, it's only natural for you to play Uncharted 4 A Thieves End, and that is also on sale for $9.99. Uncharted 4 for a long time was considered the PlayStation 4's best exclusive, and honestly, I don't think it's that crazy of a statement if you think that still. Yes, I think the majority of people would agree in thinking that God of War is a better title, but Uncharted 4 A Thieves End is a fantastic game in its own right, much better than the previous 3 Uncharted games, and that says a lot because those 3 games were incredible. But of course, with Uncharted 4 being built for the PlayStation 4, from a technical standpoint, it's on another level. The pacing is great, the story is great with the introduction of Nate's brother, and there's a lot of twists and turns that Uncharted 4 takes. If you've yet to play this game, again, you're doing yourself a disservice, and at $9.99, it's at the very least among the top 3 PlayStation 4 exclusives thus far, and that is very high praise.
Just you and me. No offense to these guys, but they don't get it.
If you're done lying to me, then you should stop lying to yourself.
The biggest pirate treasure of all time is within our grasp.
Next up, we have Alien Isolation for $8.99. Alien Isolation was one of the earlier games released this generation, so I won't hold it to you if you missed it. It went a little bit under the radar, but it's a very good survival horror game, and it's a lengthy game at that. This is around a 12 to 14 hour experience. It's got a great atmosphere, great visuals, and typically we don't see a lot of great Alien games, so this is a nice fit. Right now available for just $8.99. If you're into survival horror experiences, this is going to be one right up your alley. There is an Alien Isolation collection available. I believe that's $11.99. It'll come with some downloadable content, so if you want to go all in, I would definitely recommend that. Alternatively, to just get the base game for $9, not a bad deal at all. Next up, we have another early PlayStation 4 title in Infamous Second Son for $6.99. Infamous was one of my favorite franchises on the PlayStation 3. I absolutely loved Infamous 2 even more, so you can imagine how excited I was for Infamous Second Son. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say that Infamous Second Son was quite as good as the first Infamous or the second Infamous. It just lacked in certain areas, and the first 2 Infamous games' stories were so good, and I don't feel Second Son was quite on that level. However, it's still a great open world title. A lot of content here. Visually, it was one of the best looking PlayStation 4 games, and it still holds up today, and if you're playing on the Pro, even better. And Infamous Second Son doesn't really have any ties to the first game or the second game, so if you're foreign to the franchise and you just want to try out Infamous for the first time, Second Son is a fine place to start off, and at just $6.99, it is a quality experience. Sucker Punch did a good job with it. Hopefully they revisit Infamous sooner rather than later, but of course they're busy with Ghost of Tsushima for now.
Alright, I got this whole thing figured out. We hit the town, and maybe swing by the Space Needle, always wanted to see it, and then we're back home to save some lives.
You do realize when we hit the town...
Next up, we have a PlayStation 4 launch title in Killzone Shadowfall for just $3.99. Now, Killzone is another franchise very similar to Infamous. I absolutely loved Killzone 2 and 3 on the PlayStation 3. Those games combined with the multiplayer, I probably put in around 500 hours across both of them, and they were fantastic multiplayer shooters. Killzone Shadowfall, unfortunately, just like Infamous Second Son, I don't think it was as good of a game as Killzone 2 or Killzone 3, and I think the majority of people would agree with me on that. And I think Shadowfall really falters in the area of multiplayer. The single-player campaign is quite good in Shadowfall, and as far as the PS4 launch titles, this really did set a technical benchmark, and even to this day, it is one of the best-looking games on the console, and that's pretty impressive considering the game did release all the way back in 2013. I did like the new change of pace with the story. I thought that was very well done. However, again, Killzone is a title that's known for its multiplayer, and it wasn't all that great there. However, now that it's down to just $3.99, that's what, like 6% of its original cost. For that price, honestly, I would highly recommend it because the campaign is still pretty good, and the multiplayer you can have some fun with. It's just not as engaging of an experience as I would have liked.
We must stand up to this barbarism. The world.
And lastly, another great PlayStation 4 exclusive, Until Dawn, is available for $4.99. Until Dawn was a little game by Supermassive Games, and you can compare this game to a lot of the Quantic Dreams experiences like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human in terms of its playstyle. Storytelling-wise, it's in that of a cheesy horror movie. I honestly don't think anyone was expecting anything that great out of Until Dawn, but it was one of the more surprising PlayStation 4 game releases, and a lot of people ended up enjoying it. Now, of course, the game didn't have a gigantic amount of of replay value, and it is a rather short experience, so at $59.99, a little bit steep of a price point. Now, of course, that problem has been fixed. It's available for $4.99, and that is a great price. And another title that a lot of you guys probably missed out on, so if you're interested, definitely give it a look, and it's at a great price.
We need to go get help now.
Could you live with the consequences?
That's gonna conclude this video. As I said, this PlayStation Store sale is one of the best in a long time. You can make an argument it's one of the best ever because some of these deals available are just so good and new lows for a lot of titles. As I said, there are a lot of games that are a little bit more expensive and we'll definitely be covering those. But for now, for those of you on a budget, these are some great options. That's gonna wrap this one up. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching and goodbye.